Many people have asked me if craniosacral therapy is like Reiki and what the relationship is with energy work. And I find this a really interesting question and one that I enjoy talking about. Um, Craniosacral therapy works with the systems of the body, particularly how we orient to how the body organizes its health, how it distributes its understanding of itself, how it circulates its body wisdom. And here we're entering kind of the theory of biodynamic craniosacral therapy, which is that the body wisdom is circulated via the cerebral spinal fluid and the fluids of the body, via the immune system, the lymphatic system, the endocrine system, the nervous system, the central nervous system. There's a lot I could go into about that, but I'm palpating how the fluids in the body are moving. And because we're mammals, we have these really highly sensitized fingertips, and people who spend their time with human bodies, over time the hands can feel more and more, and so it's possible to get to a place where you can feel the fluctuations of very subtle systems within the body. And I'll just talk a little bit more about that before I compare it to Reiki, and that is to say that when we learn about the body, we learn about the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the senses, the digestion, the skin, the muscles, and the bones. And there are, it's like a chapter for each of those. They're chapters, they're separate chapters, But someone who has this kind of palpation, when we put our hands on someone's body, there's only one thing happening. It's a unified sense that there's one intelligence at work, many manifestations, but one overall, you could say, organizing intelligence. And we work with that in lots of different ways. And if I had a lot of time, I'd love to talk about how it has been influenced by things like Taoism, by Western psychoanalysis, and the field of somatic therapies that arose, especially in the West Coast, in the last 100, 150 years. And I also want to say that my teacher, Ursula Popp, impressed upon me the importance of distinguishing between the phenomena in my body, because that's what my nervous system is telling me first, and that of the person that I'm working with. And I believe this is important as a therapist, and that is that we spend time really distinguishing our own work. And for me, it's been a background of meditation and having practices in my life that help me cultivate an experience of my relationship with the sensations in my body, my relationship with my areas of challenge or injuries or illnesses or chronic pain that I've had in my life. And therefore, when I do my work, I can put it aside more distinctly to be with someone else. When a therapist doesn't do their own work, it's easy to lose sight of whose stuff you're working on. So, in fact, when Ursula would have us come for our 4-day trainings in her course series, we would spend time in meditation. We would spend time journaling about what our experience is of just sitting and finding out what that experience is that we're having and identifying it. That sounds really simple to do. It sounds really simple, and it sounds like something that should be easy. It takes some practice for most of us, and I really appreciate the tone that she set, that this work, when I work with someone, it is like a meditation. I'm aware of my experience, but my attention is on what I'm feeling and sensing. And I'm really grateful for that distinction, because then I can be really fully present. And my training in meditation has been to put all the attention on my own sensations of the body, and then to have equanimity with those sensations. And the idea is that when we attach any kind of meaning or association or any kind of like emotional magnetism toward a sensation, whether it's pleasure or pain, that actually kind of holds it in place. And the more we have just an objective way of being with those body sensations, that phenomena can more easily express itself as its true nature, which is of something very ephemeral and barely material, and changes. And that is the law of the universe. Is its ephemerality. Its materiality is in question, right? Because we're energy and particles all the time. It's what the science is saying more and more and more and more. So therefore, when I'm working with someone, I'm palpating the phenomena in that body, and also being with non-judgment of that phenomena. Now, someone could be coming to me, for instance, with, let's say, hip pain that is keeping them from hiking, that is keeping them from enjoying their life. So there's going to be, it's natural. We're wired to have. We're conditioned to have these responses to our experience, especially if they're painful. And yet, when we work in this way, there's this opportunity to develop an objectivity, not to make it an object, but another way of being with those sensations other than don't like it, push it away. There's other ways we can be with it that brings our curiosity to full fore. In that curiosity, other things can emerge, especially if we come from a place of openness, especially if we come to a place of not knowing. That's when sometimes the system really takes the opportunity to express something really interesting that leads to shifts. I went online to look at a conference of some of the leaders in craniosacral therapy today, such as Franklin Sills, who runs the Karuna Institute in England, and every year they have a conference, and they were having some videos from the conference, and I was really interested in watching a video of Franklin Sills talking with Michael Kern, the man who wrote one of the textbooks for my training, and another man, I'm forgetting now. And I was so curious to hear what these guys were going to talk about. And I was anticipating that they were going to mention some new technique that I hadn't heard before, that it was a new sophisticated technique that was going to broaden my application kind of toolbox. And they sat down and they talked about the importance of not knowing and the humility in regard to what we don't know. Allows so much to happen. Allows things to come forward that can then resolve. And I believe this is an important complement to the predominant medical system, which is based on knowing, is based on diagnosis. We do need this from time to time when there's something pretty acute and even dangerous. We do need prescriptive medicine based on what we know and based on what we're tracking. That's absolutely necessary sometimes. So I'm not saying that. So I'm saying that that's also necessary. But if we're only operating from that, then there is everything else that we can't address, everything else that we don't know. Even a diagnosis doesn't paint the picture of a known sequence of events necessarily. There is a body of knowledge that is well known, but any good physician will say that is still just a piece of what's out there. And so having a complementary kind of modality that gives space to what's known and what's not known is important for that place in us where a lot of us are ready to look at, what does this back pain have to say about this chapter of this life that I'm in right now, and the choices, some choices that I'm making right now. Sometimes we can be ready to look at, what does our headaches have to do with our work schedules? What does other parts of our life have to do with our bodies? What does our mental and emotional being have to do with our physical bodies? And in this work, there's place for that. There's a place for that integration. There's a place for those parts to be one thing. There's a place for all those aspects to have space to show new possibilities, to show new avenues, to show new information. So these are some things that I also wanted to give voice to about craniosacral therapy and its possibilities for working at a deep level with ourselves. That doesn't mean every session is very deep. And sometimes working at the surface is important. And sometimes we're there for a while. But anyway, I wanted to give you an idea that this work can be very profound and can go to the depths of how do my symptoms relate to how I'm navigating in the world? How my beliefs restrict my choices, for instance. That's a big one. That's a common one. And at this place in humanity, a lot of us are looking at this kind of stuff. And the great news is that we have a lot of great therapies nowadays. There have been a lot of good work being done in this area, bringing together all these aspects of ourselves, the known and the unknown. And this is one of them. This is one of them. The craniosacral therapy is definitely one of them.